Okay, welcome everyone to a new episode of the Insilico Terminal podcast. Today we have with us as guest Doc XPT, and I like to ask people how they would introduce themselves at the beginning. So, how would you introduce yourself? What do you do to someone that doesn't really know who you are? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm a trader. I've been in this market for coming up on 5 years now. Got introduced to markets pretty much around the COVID crash. Um, Picked up from where I left off with medicine, so that the doc name isn't really just a funny meme online name. I actually
Mm-hmm.
went to med school, passed boards, and all of that. Somewhere in the middle of the bear market. I was actually, you'd call it like the top of the last cycle bear market. I got hyper obsessed. I couldn't see myself going back to medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, I just really wanted to lock in because I thought that the bear market would be the best time for me to level up and prepare myself for what I believed at the time was these crypto 4-year cycles. I don't really, know if I believe in that much anymore. But
Yeah.
back then I was like, well, if there's any time to grind, it's going to be in the bear market. So it led me to just being hyper obsessed with markets, and I've lived and breathed and ate this game since then. And yeah, man, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the TLDR on what you need to know from me, I think, for the sake of the podcast. But yeah, any
Mm-hmm.
questions, shoot them my way.
What made you interested in crypto from a medicine background? That's quite a different field,
Yeah, it
right?
was. I think it's pretty similar story for everyone. Is that the COVID crash? Everyone heard about stock markets crashing back then,
Mm-hmm.
and I just had a friend that was like, "Hey, man, I've always wanted to own stocks. This is probably a good time to buy." I was like, you know what? I think you're onto something. You're probably right. I didn't have that much money back then, but I was like, you know what? I'll throw some chips in there. And just with volatility and Trump and all the news headlines and the V-shaped recovery we got the next month, it was exciting, right? So it was just
Mm-hmm.
this big dopamine rush of checking your accounts and you're up a little bit, and oh, this is moving and that's moving and this is moving, and it felt like a game. And obviously, when you come into something new and markets are going up only, you get a false sense of security. You're very
Mm-hmm.
left side Dunning Kruger. And I was just kind of chasing everything under the sun, trying new things. I was very excited. I was watching a lot of YouTube videos back then. And I just felt, for me, as someone who grew up playing tennis, it felt more exciting than medicine, where medicine is just this game where, or not game, excuse me. It's this profession where everything is taught through a book, and you either know
Yeah.
something or you don't know something.
Mm-hmm.
Athletics or markets are very different in that regard, where there's multiple ways to skin a cat. They're the correct way to do things, but you can get there in multiple different routes. And it was more exciting and more thrilling and more challenging. And yes, I had many stumbles along the way,
Mm-hmm.
but man, the joy and then the desire to wake up every morning and look at markets far exceeded anything that I was doing when I was in med school or during my
Yeah.
internship or anything like that. So yeah, man, when the biggest turning point for me was that December 4th, 2021 Bitcoin nuke. It was like
Mm-hmm.
58K or something. And at the time, I really felt like we were going higher. I was following a lot of really smart people back then that were
Yeah.
calling tops very strongly. And I didn't know that I believed that. So I did one smart thing. I took a bunch of money out of the alts, basically liquidated all the alts, and I just went heavy into Bitcoin because I thought there was one more leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I got humbled. A couple, days or weeks later, December 4th, woke up. Bitcoin's like 42, is waking down to 42, and that was my
Mm-hmm.
big moment of, oh wait, you don't actually know anything. You're pretty dumb in this game. So I took that and I went through the classic depression of I couldn't believe this. In a couple weeks, my brain was
Yeah.
just thinking about that, and I just decided at that moment, like, I have something to prove. I'm not going to leave this game a loser. I'm sticking around, and I'm going to learn things the right way. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't fathom at that moment kind of going back to medicine. I stuck with it for another like 6 months, 8 months, but
Yeah.
throughout the 2022 year, I was like, that's I'm moving on. I'm gonna really try this out for a year or two.
Very interesting. I kind of remember like back in 2021, even though you said like many people were bearish, I felt like the thing is I only joined in 2021 on CT.
Hmm.
So I followed like all the bigger accounts, and I feel like many were like caught off guard. I remember all the calls for 100K by end of year back then, and then the market completely turning around.
I find that through some universal luck, I was following the right people at that time
Mm.
because I saw Light Crypto, his tweet, talking about, pigs getting slaughtered, or I forget the exact tweet that he had at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Everyone is
I get what
fat,
you mean. Yeah.
everyone is fat and complacent. Magus also called top. XO was calling top. I forget who. There's Pentoshi, was talking about it. So I
Hmm.
was following a lot of the accounts that were echoing the same thing, and I ended up fading all of that and just going, no, these guys are, like I don't think they know what they're talking about. We're going so much
Hmm.
higher. But yeah, the fortunate thing is once that event happened and they were proven to be correct, I was like, who are these guys? Do they have anything, to offer me? Can I learn from them?
Hmm.
How did they call this? Right. Luckily for me, XO had a bunch of streams out there that I could watch. Magus had a bunch of streams and educational content on his YouTube that I could watch. So I was like, let me humble myself at this moment and go into the minds of these traders. I got this correct and see why they got it correct.
Hmm. How did you get the conviction to stick around in 2022? Because I remember that was like
Yeah.
a very dark time, a down only year, pretty
Yeah.
much. And you left your old profession and went
Yeah.
into crypto full time, I guess. How did you come to do that?
So when the start of 2022 started, I basically wiped everything clean for myself. I started a new trading system. I was like, I'm going to trade around ranges,
Hmm.
and that's pretty much all I'm going to do. I'm going to use price action. I'm going to use ranges, and I'm going to build this thing up. And I was still doing medicine in early 2022. This was I was studying for boards, and I had my last USMLE like step 2. CK at the time. So I was like, I have to submit application for residency. Let me just get this out of the way. So that was early 2022.
Hmm.
But then I had a little bit of period before, you do interviews and stuff like that. So all I had was trading that year. And I challenged myself somewhere, I think in May, it was right around 3AC.
Yeah.
I felt that I had pretty good stance on direction of market, whether coming into the
Hmm.
week I'm looking for higher prices or lower prices. I had a good idea of the trades that I wanted to take. But I wasn't profitable. I was kind of a break-even trader, right? I had a good idea of where I thought the market was going, but there was a lot
Hmm.
of mistakes that I was making. And there was a turning point here where I just said, is there anything in this market that I do well? Is there anything, right?
Hmm.
And through Coin Market Manager, some other data out there that I was like, okay, well, there's one setup that I'm profitable on, right? If I just remove everything else and just do this one thing, I think I can do okay. So that was a
Yeah.
big turning point for me there. Is like, I'm just going to do this one thing. I'm just going to take this one setup again and again and again and again. And I challenged myself. I was like, okay, you have until the end of the year. Like, let's see if you can be profitable. And that was around the time where my interviews were going to start. It was going to start around fall to winter. So I was like,
Hmm.
by then, can I turn a profit? And I think it took the first account was 300 something trades, which seems like a lot of effort, but I
Hmm.
did end up 2xing the account over those like 6 months. And at that moment, I said, well, if I can do it in these conditions, very uncertain, very lacking narrative, and all these things, then I should be able to do it in a market that trends up.
Yeah.
That was my brain. That was my mindset at the time. And I said, you know what? Let me give this 1 year, right? If I could do this now, let me just push this whole thing back 1 year. So
Hmm.
that's how I did it. And 2023, we all know the markets went up, and it's a lot easier. And I can go through the journey step by step, but I'm going to stop there.
Yeah. I'm curious, what kind of setup was that, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, it was. So we were in a clean downtrend, right? And the
Hmm.
volatility was dying off. But through just shorting the market a lot, I was like, well, the shorts are working much better than the longs, right? Counter trend
Hmm.
trading is not working for me. So okay, let me focus on the short side of the market, right? I have a higher hit rate there. And number two, since we are in a downtrend, what we would do is we would gap down, we would range, we would gap down, we would range on altcoins, on Bitcoin, whatever. So I said,
Hmm.
okay, anytime we extend down, we put this extension candle down, all I'm looking for is a retracement of some of that extension for it to build the new range, right? And I would say this is a range high, and all I would be looking for is triggers around that local range high, right? Like I
Hmm.
mentioned, my focus was on ranges. So anything that was driving up, it was a 3 drive and break in market structure at that range highs. If it's an SFP at that range highs, if it's a tag of the point of breakdown at that range highs, right? I'm looking for these short triggers. And my favorite one, the most profitable one was just simple price action. 3 drives up, break in market structure, retrace, put in a lower high, short that, invalidation at the highest high.
Hmm.
And that was the one that got me over the hump.
I see.
Very simple, right? But it
Yeah.
teaches you a lot that like there, if you could just find one thing and have the discipline to just execute that and not be distracted
Hmm.
by everything else, and also have the patience, like, okay, if it's not setting up, it's not setting up. I can't take a trade.
Hmm.
But it taught me a lot at that moment.
I feel like the best setups are always kind of simple.
They are, yeah, they
Like,
are.
like,
It really doesn't matter how me and you trade. Like we could have completely polar opposite systems, but we intuitively know what works for us better than the rest.
hmm.
And we as traders all self-sabotage in some form because we
Yeah.
get bored, right? And we are like, okay, well, we know this was not going to work out as good, but it could still, right? And it takes
Hmm.
maybe 3 seconds to click a button. So it's very hard to stay out of your own way and prevent that self-sabotage, but we all have the capability of doing it, I believe.
Hmm. Did it come naturally to you during that year, or was there also times where you were struggling a bit more and maybe even thinking about giving up, or how did that go for you?
Yeah, so the thing with trading, man, and I think everyone can relate to this, is when it's good, it's great.
Hmm.
When you win, nothing beats that feeling of getting a trade correctly or making money in markets. So even in the bad times, even when you're on a losing streak or things feel bad, it takes one win to shift your mind. So definitely multiple times through that year, I was like, what's the issue here, right? If I feel
Yeah.
going into the week that I know we're going to bounce from here, there's one trade that I'll never forget. That was the day that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Hmm.
Bitcoin was, it was chopping. It was after I forget what the exact prices were, but it was maybe 35 to 40 range or something like that
Hmm. Hmm.
before Luna. And I wanted along that low, and I actually set a limit order, and I got filled, and it was up. But then I saw the news. This is before I even I looked at the accounts first, and I looked at the news later, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
this is war. Like, what do I do with this? And I got terrified, and I closed my position. Because I was like, I don't know how to trade this. And guess what happened? A
Yeah.
couple days later, it bounced really high.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these are just all learning lessons for me of like, I think I know what I'm doing. I have enough evidence to know that I think I can do this. It's just how do I iron out these little issues here and there?
Hmm.
And I think the lucky thing for me is just I would rest my mindset on playing tennis that you can lose a bunch, but you can still win a match. You can lose a set
Hmm.
6-0 the first set. You could be down 3-0, 4-0. You can still find a way to win the match. You can actually win a match by winning less points than your opponent. Your opponent could
Hmm.
win more total points than you, but you can end up winning the match. So I thought about all these things and just remembered, as long as I stick with it, I have these months. I'm not doing anything. All I'm doing is waiting for interviews, right? So I have
Yeah.
this time. What else am I going to do? So even in those dark down moments, there was time. There was time to kind of prove it to myself.
Hmm. I find the tennis background quite interesting. That's like the first time I've heard anyone say that. I feel like many people have either like a gaming background
Hmm.
or a poker background coming into trading, but a sport like tennis is also pretty interesting. Is there any like particular lessons that are like particular to tennis that helped you in trading?
There's one that I've kind of echoed a bunch. So Roger Federer had a commencement speech recently at Dartmouth, and his clips went viral. You may have seen it yourself. He said something about, in his career, he played 1,200 matches, and he won 83 or 84% of those matches.
Hmm.
But throughout the course of his career, he only won 52% of all the points he played. So,
Hmm.
he went on to talk about how painful it is to lose every other point.
Yeah.
But then to shift your mentality of it doesn't matter if I double faulted. It doesn't matter if I, had the ugliest point of all time. It doesn't matter if I hit an ESPN top 10 highlight and everyone watches the highlight on social media the next day. It's still one
Hmm.
point. It's just one point. It's just one point.
Hmm.
And you have to reframe after each point to think about the next one, right? You have to let it go very quickly and start focusing and preparing for the very next point. And I think trading is very similar to that, where no one trade is more important than the next,
Hmm.
and we have to continue looking forward to the next one and the next one and the next one. And I think the reason why a lot of people fail is they dwell on the prior trades, right? If you're on a very hot streak, what naturally happens, your preparation and your discipline start fading. You start risking more
Hmm.
money, you start taking more aberrant trades, you feel like you can't lose, you trade assets you may not trade, you think about house money. And when you're a losing streak, you do the opposite. You withdraw. You size down. You get scared to
Hmm.
take your quality setups. You know this one works for you, but because you're losing, you say, I don't want to trade, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of similarities between tennis and trading in that regard. I could probably go on, but I think that's one of the best examples that we have.
Hmm. I think there's a great quote from Insilico himself. I don't know if he's the first one that said it, but I know it from him. The next trade isn't going to change your life, but the next 1,000 trades will.
Yeah, great way to look at it.
Yeah, because like it's easy. I feel like many people on CT or many people in crypto general have like this mindset of getting rich quick and wanting to like hit it big, 10x their money, 100x their
Yes.
money. But that's just like mostly based on luck and not really replicable. Even if you do that, like you're aware on some level that you could always lose it again. But if you do it over a long enough time frame and you do the 1,000 trades and you have like the 60% win rate or whatever, you still have the same pain that you talked about from losing many, maybe 40% of the trades. But overall, you can still make money out of that. But you just like have to stick at it
Yeah,
and keep
agreed.
going.
And one of the core lessons I learned in 2022. So I was on that account path. I told you like 300 trades, a double A account. I
Hmm.
was on a good run. I think over the course of about a month and a half, I was up 35 to 40% on my account. And I was just doing the thing that I told you, just keep it very simple, take those trades. I was losing a bunch, I was winning a bunch, but the account was going up.
Hmm.
And I saw a trader, I'm not going to name names, but he was very popular in the 2021 cycle. And he posted some setup, right? And he
Yeah.
posted it on CT. And I looked at that and I said, this guy has been on fire. He did so well. He did well around the top. He didn't lose all his money. He's posting this. Man, maybe I should take this.
Hmm.
And guess what I did? I copy traded him. And I didn't size the way that I was normally sized. I sized up. I was like, this looks like a surefire thing. And when the trade got invalidated, guess what I did? Instead of taking the L, I added more to it. I was like, it'll turn
Hmm.
around. I don't want to lose this much in my account. And in one trade, I reset the account from 35, 40% up to 20% down.
Yeah.
And mentally, now I'm sitting in this hole of I did all this work over the past 1 or 2 months or 3 months, and
Mm.
it's all wiped out.
Yeah.
And you have a
Yeah.
decision to make there of like your brain goes to, if I do the right thing again, just to get back to where I was, going to take several months in this
Yeah.
one bad decision, right? And it's a very painful thing to overcome. But I think the difference between people that can do this and be profitable year in and year out over several years is they have the ability to do that, right? They don't
Hmm.
get distracted here and there. They don't lose their discipline once in a while, because all it really does is take one little moment to put you on tilt, to
Mm.
change your own mindset, to lose your discipline, to trade something you don't normally trade, to trade assets you don't normally trade, to copy trade someone. All of these things are distractions, and like you said, it's like the more shortcuts you take, the longer the journey.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like many people can relate to. I've definitely also done it myself, like seeing a setup that someone else uh, posted, or even just a coin that someone shilled or whatever, and then just like jumping in without doing my usual. Even
Yeah.
if it doesn't fit my usual process, I'm just like, yeah, this person seems smart.
Yeah.
This seems like a good idea, and then you just realize like, yeah, I just didn't follow my own system. I didn't follow my own ideas, and I can't like blame the other person either because they didn't make me take the trade, and I still lost like my money. And yeah, I think also what it reminded me of is another good quote that just came to my mind from GCR is like, cleanse yourself of your peak net worth. I recently saw that on a
Yeah.
timeline, because that's obviously a very difficult thing to do, as you just said. If you lost money, that you have to get into the mindset of, oh, I have to like put in so much more time just to get back to where I was before.
Yeah.
But you can only, same thing as before, like you can only go for the next trade, like what can the next trade be like, and you can only go from that like step by step, and not just be like, yeah, I need to go back to this, I need to make this back or whatever, because then you're always in a kind of victim and defeatist mindset that will never really like in a scarcity mindset, like you feel like, oh, I have to like do so much to get it back. But the market is kind of abundant, like it gives you opportunities every single day to make money, and
Hmm.
you just have to stay level headed and go with that.
Yeah, it is really funny about markets because it's like the winning formula has already been taught. All the wisdoms
Hmm.
have been dropped. All
Hmm.
the great traders have said all the things. All the tools are out there. All the
Yeah,
indicators are out
yeah, yeah.
there. It is a great game of self mastery, right? It's
Hmm.
it's you versus you. Can you do the right things every single day? And it's a big reflection on who you are in real life. A lot of people don't have the discipline to do the simple things of that they know they should do. Why do people suffer from anxiety, this day and age?
Hmm.
Because they're suppressing the things that they know they should do, right? That people lack discipline nowadays because it's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy to, order takeout from Uber, right? Rather than
Hmm.
making your own meals. It's so easy to do all these things. And the same thing in markets, right? It's truly just a test of discipline because a bunch of the winning formulas, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying I think the core reason why so many people fail is because they do lack the discipline to do the things they know they should do.
Hmm.
And like we both talked about, right? It takes one little mistake here and there, and those
Yeah.
mistakes can snowball out of control.
Yeah. You seem quite level-headed and disciplined to me on Twitter and in this conversation so far. Is that like something that a characteristic that came to you while you were on your trading journey, or is there also something like outside of trading that helped you to be like that?
I think it's okay. Well, first of all, I'm not as young as people may think, right? I'm
Hmm.
already 30, right? So I've lived a little bit of life,
Hmm.
and through that life, I've made a lot of mistakes. I talked about the tennis journey, right? There was a time in tennis where I was pretty good. I was top 500 in the world in juniors, under 18. I was traveling. I was a prospect. I was playing at IMG academies in Florida. I could have got D1 scholarships and all this kind of stuff. And I let it get to my head. I stopped training as hard, right? I started talking to girls more, right? I started slacking off on weekends.
Hmm.
I wouldn't sleep on time. I would sneak out and try to go to parties and stuff, right? So I screwed over my own tennis career because I thought I had this big lead on everyone.
Yeah.
In medicine, I kind of did the same thing, right? When I went to med school, pretty quickly in the first month or so, I realized like I'm not as smart as all the other students here, right? And
Hmm.
there's a little chip on your shoulder when people maybe laugh at something that you get wrong, right? So I made it
Yeah.
a goal for myself, like they're not going to laugh at me. So I finished that year ninth in my class, which I was pretty proud of. But guess what? I did again. Let it get to my head and stop working as hard and slip behind. And
Hmm.
the next few years of school, I didn't place that high in class, right? I slipped to like middle of the pack, right? I was just average class, average student. So just with life experience, like when it came to markets, I was like, I know how to do something well initially. I don't know how to maintain it.
Hmm.
And that was a real, self challenge for myself is like, can I continue proving this to myself year over year? It's not good enough to do it once. It's not good enough to run up one account. It's not good
Hmm.
enough to sell one top at 30K and be bullish at 25K. Do it again and again and again. This game's never going to stop. It's never going to last. There's no income. There's no paycheck coming in. You don't get to just show up 9 to 5. You have to keep on earning it and earning it and earning it. And the other
Hmm.
side is, well, you can trade this market and try to make 8 figures in one cycle,
Yeah.
but then you have to take extreme risk, right? But
Hmm.
why do that if I can prove to myself again and again that I can do the simple things correctly over time, right? And there's going to be times to add stuff. The metas are going to shift, right? The time frames are going to shift. Volatility is going to change.
Hmm.
Bitcoin corrects like 1 to 5% now, and people lose their minds versus 25% last summer, right?
Yeah.
Metas are going to shift. Volatility is going to shift. The drivers of mechanics are going to shift, and you have to keep on staying on top of those things. But yeah, I think it's just life experience. I'm not going to say that I was always this person, but I'm trying to build towards it.
Hmm. I think in trading, one of the most dangerous things is definitely if you're on a winning streak. As you said,
Yeah,
with the tennis and the medicine, if you're like feeling that you're winning already, and then it gets to your head, and you get some ego out of it, and
yeah.
then the market always very quickly humbles you.
Oh yeah, definitely. There was actually a funny moment last year. I was coming off a pretty hot streak. This is around summer.
Hmm.
So Pepe had two crazy rallies. First, a 10x rally going into, I believe, March, a big correction. I was lucky enough to sell that top within like 15%.
Hmm.
And I actually bought the bottom on that. Right? It's just one of those perfect times where it's not just you do it, but you actually do it with proper size.
Yeah.
And I was able to actually sell the top, right? I've never been able to do that with size again, just because I haven't been that risk on since that one moment. That was a high conviction trade for me,
Hmm.
and I played it to perfection. Man, my ego was through the roof. The money that I made. I'm looking at my accounts. It's one of those times where every second you get, you open up the portfolio to look at it,
Yeah.
because you're just so damn proud of it.
Yeah.
And I remember at that moment, I was already friends with Charlie and Magus and working with Paragon. And I asked these guys, I was like, what would you do in my place at this moment? Like, I
Hmm.
know that I'm not in the right mindset. What would you do? And they gave me opposing advice, right? Charlie said, when you're on a win streak, fucking keep gunning it, right? You got the
Yeah.
hot hand, keep going, right? Until like it'll blow up eventually, but keep going, see how much you can press it. And
Yeah.
Magus took the opposite end. He's like, you should do what's best for you and lock it in and this and that and the other thing. And ultimately, I
Hmm.
came to the decision of like, I'm not in the right mindset. I know I'm going to lose this,
Hmm.
but I don't want to just slack. So that was a good moment for me to say one of the big problems in my life right now is my work-life balance, right? I am just
Hmm.
glued to the screen 18 hours a day. I'm trading 4-hour charts and 1-hour charts. Entries come in Asia hours and they come when I'm sleeping, they come when I'm in the grocery store, they come in all these times. So what could I do at this moment to level up? And I said, let me try trading lower time frames. I was very
Hmm.
scared. I was like, I can't do this. I don't have the temperament to do this. And it's going to take
Yeah.
different tooling. And I have to start watching flow. And I have to start, doing all these things that feel very difficult to me. But I gave myself time. I was like, look, if I'm in this mindset where I can't trade my system right now, I'm coming off a big win and I'm probably going to blow it up if doing something stupid. Let me
Hmm.
focus on something else. So I took last summer and I was like, I'm just going to iron out low time frames. I'm going to iron out
Hmm.
a system that's based around flow. I'm going to use different tooling and let me see if I find something here. And I'm very happy I did that. So I think there's things that you could always stay focused in markets and not get complacent, but you can
Yeah.
shift that energy around. You don't have to have wasted effort. So I was thinking in that moment, I was like, oh, this reminds me of when I came off, wins in tennis and whatever, and I thought I'm the best and I got complacent. I was like, I can't allow myself to get complacent at this time. I still have to stay
Hmm.
engaged. So I just shifted that energy in a different direction last year. I'm very happy that I did.
Hmm. Is that still something that you're mainly doing? Like, are you mainly focusing on lower time frames now?
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of people that followed me on Twitter over the years know me as, Doc the trend trader, the EMA trader, or
Hmm.
whatever. But yeah, pretty much this entire year, 2025, I'd say, statistically, maybe 98% of my trades have been on Bitcoin on an intraday basis.
Hmm. What
That's
would you
that's
say
the
is the
bread and
biggest
butter.
biggest difference between going from trend trading to a more low time frame focused style?
Oh, completely different. So for intraday trading, for me, it's not momentum based anymore. Now it's mean reversion. For
Hmm.
trend trading, it's all momentum based. So as a momentum trader, you're comfortable missing the bottom and you're comfortable missing the top as long as you get the middle. For reversion trading, you have to kind of dial in those entries and not worry about the overextension. You take the high EV bet if you're trading a
Hmm.
fixed range volume profile or a VWAP, right? And you say, hey, I'm fading this extremity because some idiot just opened up a position where he shouldn't, or someone just closed out a position in aggression here, and that aggression is not being rewarded. You're
Yeah.
comfortable just taking those profits at the daily VWAP, or bounce back to the middle of the range or anything like that, and you don't concern yourself with the overextension. You don't concern yourself with the full reversion to the opposite side of value. You take the highest EV bet, right?
Hmm.
It's a completely different mentality, a completely different system. You're watching different tooling. You're using different tooling. You're not even using the same things you are on medium time frame. But I enjoy this so much more. It allows me to
Hmm.
lock in for the morning. If I get a trade, fantastic. If I don't, it's okay. Next day, and have some balance and remember that we're human beings and our lives aren't just glued to the screen 18 hours a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that shift came kind of easy to you? For me, it has been more the other way around. Like I started out on lower time frames doing mean reversion, and I've gotten more into momentum trading on higher time frames this year. But it's been kind of difficult for me to like buy higher. If
Yeah,
you get what I mean, because I'm very used
100%.
to like I want to like buy cheap prices. I want to like
Yeah.
buy low and sell high, and I don't want to like buy in a position where it feels like kind of expensive to me, and that has definitely been an adjustment to make.
Yeah, I don't know if it came easy to me because it took me a while. I started working on this in April, and I locked in on it in June. June is when I
Hmm.
really started locking in on it, and it wasn't until October. Yeah, about October that I started speaking about it with other people. Like, hey, this is what I've
Hmm.
been doing and this is what I've been focusing on. So it took me that long to even gain the confidence to start speaking about these trades that I was taking.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of trial and error. I didn't know what my so-called quiver was. I didn't know how many arrows I had in it. I was trying a bunch of different things. I was trying to take momentum trades, right?
Mm-hmm.
outside of value. I was trying to take mean reversion trades. I was shorting and longing, right? I was taking trades on Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Solana, right? So I didn't really know where the bread and butter was. But just like the origin of 2022, I found one thing that worked better for me. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is the rules of this trade, right? These are the 5 things that I want. As long as I can get 3 out of the 5, it's an acceptable trade. If I get 5 out of the 5, that's where I can size up into that trade.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wouldn't say it was easy, man. It was a long process, and this is years after me proving that I can be profitable. But that system didn't come natural to me. It
Mm-hmm.
was difficult, and it was a different mentality of catching a knife, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
aggressive before confirmation, because as a trend trader, you're trading with confirmation. You
Yeah.
already know that there's a trend shift. You already know that there's momentum loss. You already know that the opposing party is taking over, right? But when
Mm-hmm.
you're mean reverting, you're basically trying to in the moment speculate on what a local bottom could look like,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And you have to invalidate yourself very quickly. So you're taking these scratches, right? And you have to not let those scratches, hurt your confidence too, because
Mm-hmm.
there's times where I'm going to take 2 scratch trades in a day before I catch the bottom on the third one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't let that mentality get to you on the third trade of I'm going to size down. No, I don't want to take this. No, the bears are too strong in this downtrend momentum. Oh, this and that. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to take those trades again and again, and those are a lot of obstacles I had to overcome during that period.
Yeah, it's really just the chart time of just watching a chart, watching it play out
Really
over and
is,
over
yeah.
again. So you really like get a feel for how the market reacts, especially like in lower time frames. The same things happen over and over again on all time frames. It's all like
Yeah.
fractal, but just having a feel of that is very. It definitely takes a while, but if you get it, then it's kind of, I don't know, not easy, but like simple. It's like
It
easier to
clicks.
understand. But but you also can't really like teach that. You can't teach the principles and stuff, but it definitely takes the screen time to do it yourself. I feel like to properly master it.
Yeah, 100%. I think you can teach the setups. You can teach what
Hmm.
you're looking for, but you can't teach someone the ability to click the button at the right time. That's
Yeah.
something they're going to have to see in the moment, because you can see it 5 minutes later, 8 minutes later, and then it makes sense, and you're like, oh, okay, I got the outcome that I was speculating on. But to have the courage to actually click the button at the time is something you need to develop through reps, right? And
Hmm.
even those moments where you enter and price is sitting at your entry for 6-7 minutes, and you
Hmm.
really want to cut it because you're like, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Those are things that you learn through experience, right? And it's not only, like you said, chart time, but it's also time in the trade.
Hmm.
That's very important as well. Like that pressure that you feel, your adrenaline going up, and to kind of overcome that for a few minutes. I had a student recently, it was actually a few months ago. He had the courage to share his live trades with me. So he was
Hmm.
recording them and he would send them to me. He'd be like, what do you think? And I saw him doing one of the errors that I used to make very early is, you would get into the trade, it would move in your favor, and you would move your stops immediately, right?
Hmm.
And you would skim a little bit of profit out immediately,
Yeah.
right? Because you're like, oh, that early volatility, right? It puts so much pressure on you because you think like it's not moving all the way. It's not 20% towards my target right away. It's just 5, 6, 7%. It's gonna round trip, it's gonna stop me out, right? Those
Hmm.
early pressure moments cannot be taught. That's taught through experience.
Did you have while you learned how to trade? Did you have any mentors, or what were your sources to learn like market basics?
Yeah. So I'm very fortunate. I think a lot of people are not so fortunate that they find the right accounts to follow early on.
Hmm.
And I came into CT in an era where people were not scared to share. Right? They were sharing a
Hmm.
lot of things. They weren't scared to be wrong. They weren't ridiculed when they were wrong like they are today.
Yeah.
And guys like Magus, TraderXO, Pierre were great. I would say not one-to-one mentors right away, but like distant mentors, right?
Hmm.
XO had this library of streams, right? And he does it on YouTube. I didn't need to wait for his next stream. I could just go watch his whole library, right? And I could see how he's forming his ideas, how they're playing out. And the thing that stood out to me a lot about XO versus other traders is he wouldn't trade with these hard stops, right? He wouldn't
Hmm.
say, oh, this is where I'm going to place my stop loss. If it comes to this price, I'm out. He would say, this is where I'm wrong. This is how my invalidation is formed. This is the price action that I want to see to be proven correct. If this
Hmm.
happens, I'm going to be incorrect. And that mindset was very helpful for me. And it helped me, think about markets in a different way, right? If I'm speculating on this level to hold, or if I'm speculating on this trade to form, this is the kind of price action that I need to see to be proven correct. If I'm not getting that, I don't need to wait for my stop loss to get hit. I know that this trade's not going to work out for me. Right. Magus had so much free education out there that I was very interested in, but I looked at Magus as like an order flow trader, and I was like, this is too complex for me to learn right now. I need very simple, market mechanics. Right. So I followed him, and I kind of bookmarked all the things he was posting, and I was like, I'm going to come back to this in a 6 months or a year, when I have a better standing. Another trader that he still shares a lot is Pierre, right? He had a very good understanding of trends, momentum. And he had the Haven, right? So it was somewhere late in 2022. Once I had already, focused on Exos system, traded range, traded price action, I was like, well, look, it doesn't make sense in an industry like crypto to wait for something to pump, 12, 15, 18% and then short it for 2R, It makes more sense to try to extract that 18% move. And I said, well, the best person I follow at this moment is Pierre. And he was sharing on the timeline, but he also had the Haven. So I said, well, FTX just happened. Nothing's going on in markets. Like, there's no trends to trade. Let me go to the Haven and see what he's doing in there. And he was trading, I think at the time it was like Litecoin, GMX. I can't remember the third coin, but there wasn't really much going on. But fortunate for me, there's library of trades in there. And all I did was go through all his trades. He had the whole, channel. And I was just like, okay, this is how he took this. This is how he took this. This is how he took this. And after about a month, I gathered that data, and I was like, I can't stay in here, because if I stay in here, it's gonna make me copy trade him. So I need to go take what I learned and start applying it. And then months later, it worked for me. 2023, we started an uptrend. I started applying a lot of the things that he was trading. Render was in this giga strong uptrend in Q1. It was a really fun trade. Trend on the 4 hour. After that, I was like, okay, well, what else can I add? How can I add to this? And that's when I sought out Magus. I remembered. I was like, okay, this guy's too smart, but maybe I could start absorbing some of this at the time. And then I went to the Paragon, and I started learning from Magus somewhere in early 2023. So I wouldn't say I had these direct one-to-one, I could DM you mentors, but I'm just very fortunate there was people around me that were teaching the right things. Even people that I followed, Awawat, taught me the necessity to trade the strong assets in the market and not apply your will to things that are not in the narrative. He's notoriously good at scoping out the winners and trading the winners and not focusing on everything else. It's a very, very strong lesson at the time. I could go on and on and on about all the things I've learned from these people. But like I said, man, I'm very fortunate that I came into to the market and followed the right people at the right time.
Yeah, following the correct accounts is definitely very, very, very important and very valuable. Yeah. Is that also like a reason why you yourself are now quite passionate about education?
Man, I think I kind of landed in this role. It wasn't something that I wanted to do initially. It wasn't a goal or anything like that. It just naturally kind of happened. So what I did do is I made this Twitter account. And the reason I made it is just like, let me see if I can respond to some of these accounts and ask them questions. So I'd reply guy to them. There wasn't much going on in 2022. Sometimes it would respond, sometimes it wouldn't. And I think what I would do is I would just share my ideas under theirs. I wouldn't, necessarily do the exact same trade as them, but I'd be like, what do you think of this? Right. And I built some followers, a couple hundred. And I just made a Discord. I was like, well, if you guys want to discuss trades, I don't know anyone in this market, come in this open Discord and we'll talk about stuff. And we were discussing all the CPIs and FOMCs and all this kind of stuff and talking about where we think Bitcoin's going and kind of growing together. And I think, out of those group of people, a lot of people looked to me for my opinion. So I just kept on sharing more. And the YouTube stuff, one day I was like, look, man, I think I took 2 weeks off in 2023 at some point. And I was like, I'm going to go through the entire Binance perps chart list. I'm going to go through every single coin and let me just stream this. I'll stream it on YouTube. And if anyone wants to join, I had like 2 or 3 people from the Discord watching, and I went for 3 hours and just went through everything. I was like, you know what? This is good prep because I actually caught a couple trades this week that I scoped out. It took me 3 hours to go through like 200 plus coins, but let me do this again next week. So the next Sunday I did it again, and the next Sunday I did it again, the next Sunday I did it again, and eventually it became its own thing. It wasn't by plan or anything like that. It just kind of happened. And you mentioned earlier, I think before the call, hey Doc, you did some podcasting back in the day, right? So that's when I was like, hey, let me maybe ask some traders what they think. And that's kind of how I developed a relationship with Magus. I had him on the podcast, and We had a conversation, and somewhere down the line, he asked me to join the team on Paragon.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's just kind of how it came to be. It wasn't planned or anything.
I see. I think it's definitely good to still have some accounts that like share stuff, because as you said, compared to back then, I feel like in 2021 there was a lot more knowledge sharing going on. People were talking a lot more freely about what they were doing, and now many people have become a bit more jaded and don't really want to share that much
Yeah.
stuff anymore. So it's kind of nice that there are still people around that teach people that have like no knowledge at all, because that's always like a difficult position to start out from.
Yeah, I
Um,
think the turning point on CT is when CT went after Hasaka. I think that was the
mhm,
big turning point, in the culture shift is, they didn't understand Hasaka the way that he ran his account the last few years.
mhm,
And the way he ran it was he would find the winners and he would just bull post the winners. That was his
yeah,
thing, right? Whatever the winner was, wherever he was long, he's not sharing his entry, but he's bull posting them.
yeah,
And his kind of edge on how that worked started fading over time as everyone caught on and go, okay, Hasaka's long this, like we have a limited lifespan on this trade.
mhm,
And CT gets smarter and more competitive, and traders get smarter, and edges erode, and new betas form, and people started saying, oh, he's a top signal. Every time he comes on to CT to
mhm,
bull post, that's it. The momentum's dead. Because you kind of knew, like, if you're in the winner, and you're doing well and you have a good entry, well, if Hasaka's posting it, now your trade kind of has a deadline.
yeah,
It's not going to last that long. Maybe you have a couple days to a couple weeks, but it's kind of, everyone's going to get in.
mhm,
And they, I think, undeservedly started calling him the top signal. It on paper, like, we can't deny some of those. You could pin them on a chart and they were tops, but I don't
mhm.
think that reflected the actual trades that he was taking. And I think
I
that
think,
that started the culture shift around, like,
yeah.
just flaming people around tweets.
I think the problem is with him, his account just became way too big. And
Yeah,
then it was kind of like, at the beginning, he was just sharing these setups, but after some time, they became like self fulfilling prophecies of him just posting a ticker. And then afterwards, it would go up like 5 or
yeah,
10% immediately, because people were just piling in. And at some point, as you said, like people just figure out how the meta works. And then you can't really, like, his account has 500 or 600K followers or something like that. I think that's
yeah.
just very difficult to deal with. And then also, he did the roll bit chilling was probably the thing
True,
that really
true,
like nailed him in as well.
true. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that one. Yeah, I'm sure that
Yeah.
had something to do with it. But yeah, man, there's a big culture shift, right? Traders used to post freely, didn't care about being wrong, and now it's like if you get something wrong, you're the devil, and if you get something right, you're the goat. It's like fantasy football now.
Hmm.
It's the people are looking at traders as these kind of like athletes or something, and they're
Yeah.
betting on them, and they're upset at them when they do bad, and they're what do you call it, glazing them when they're doing well. It's a
Hmm.
weird thing now, but I think it's natural because of how much it's grown. Crypto's grown, CT's grown. You have a
Yeah.
bunch of people coming into the market looking for free money. They don't really know. They're on their own, left curve Dunning-Kruger arc, right? They'll get humbled eventually and understand how it really works.
Hmm. Since we are on the Terminal podcast, and I sometimes the
Yeah.
reason I reach out to you actually is because I sometimes see you sharing screenshots from the terminal.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, how important is execution for your trading, and has it like gained in importance since you first started trading? What is like some of your favorite execution styles or strategies? If you can go a bit into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I mentioned, when I was trading, trends and higher time frames, it wasn't that important to me.
Hmm.
But when I swapped over to specifically low time frames intraday, I felt that it was much more necessary. And the thing that I think people don't talk about within Silico is the ability to consolidate all your accounts into one place.
Hmm.
You can quickly swip if you're using Bybit. It's so much longer. You can Binance. It's longer to get to between sub accounts and accounts.
Yeah.
Put everything in one place, right? And I can separate my trades from one another, right? So I have an account where I'm just intraday trading Bitcoin, and I want
Hmm.
that one to stay very simple, because I know for me, I have this bad habit of crossing two trades together, right? If
Hmm.
one gets stopped but one is doing well, I may think about the loss and skim some profits off the winner to kind of
Yeah.
balance it out. So the more separation I have, the better. But
Hmm.
so the Insilico gives me the ability to kind of like put all those sub accounts in one place, but not see them all at the same time, right? All
Mm-hmm.
the kind of positions are kind of separated a little bit. And number two is like I didn't really used to care so much about different type of orders between limits and markets. I wouldn't think about fees. I wouldn't think about all these
Mm-hmm.
things. But the more you trade Bitcoin intraday, the more those fees kind of rack up.
Yeah.
So when the tape is fast, I'm still marketing. But when the tape is slower, like something like a limit chase is super beneficial just to save a little bit on fees here and there, right?
Yeah.
If I know that, hey, this is a good place to execute, but I don't really need to market in at this moment because we don't have the most volatility, I can limit chase there and save a little bit on fees.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I think it's just it's a good discipline tool. It keeps everything in one place. It's very clean. Like I wouldn't change it for the world. You guys are, I think, miles ahead of the rest of the industry when it comes to that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And exchanges out there listening, you should make your exchanges more like Insilico.
Thank you very much for the unpaid chili.
No.
But
I'll
but
shill Insilico all the time, man. I'll recommend it
yeah.
all the time.
I mean, me too, but it's also kind of my job. But it also like I think it's just a very good tool. I remember like back when I first started trading lower time frames and scalping and stuff. I messaged like our current on product manager that like if he had some advice for me how to like better enter and exit, because I always did like market orders at the beginning, and I just noticed like if you go for these small percentages, then market orders just erode so much of your profits that you almost
Yeah,
don't make anything, even just
yeah,
from like if you market order in and then you get stopped, then you already paid so much in fees that it's like you need quite a high win rate to even
yeah.
break even. And yeah, for that, it's definitely a very very great tool that I gladly use and then chill and
Yeah,
make podcasts for.
for people that don't know kind of how the free structure works, because I used to be oblivious to this, so I wouldn't pay attention. But like longing one Bitcoin, I think depending on where you are in your VIP status or whatever, is like, let's call
Hmm.
it $50, right? $50 to market order one Bitcoin, and then closing is another $50, right? So it's $100 just to take one trade. If you're not getting more than $100 move on Bitcoin, you're losing. you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
so for a lot of people that are intraday trading, they're like, I'm getting out with a profit, but they don't understand why their account is going down. So you have to be
mm,
very precise with a lot of these entries. You can't be lazy either, right? If you're
yeah.
not prepared and your entry's gone and Bitcoin's bounced $110 from the entry and it still looks good, your EV on the trade is eroded immensely.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think if you're not focusing on that, and you probably should.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, definitely. Even just for your, even if you're not to shield the terminal too much, but just like execution is just a very important part of trading. That you only like, especially if you go for like not this home run type of trade, but like the 1,000 trades to change your life or whatever. It's very like it stacks up over time,
Yeah.
and it's very very important to keep track of. Regarding venues that you trade on, what do you think about Hyperliquid? And also, like, do you do any other stuff than trading perps majors? I guess, like, do you do any on-chain stuff, or is there anything that is currently interesting to you? Betting markets, pump fund streaming, or
Yeah.
anything in that regard?
I think coming into crypto, there's so many ways to make money, man. There's the
Mm,
on chain, like you mentioned, perp trading, positional trading, spot trading, airdrop farming, all these things, DeFi protocols. There's so many opportunities to make money, but
mm-hmm.
I think I know me personally, it's hard for me to focus on multiple things. I
Yeah.
prefer just specializing on a few things that I can do well. Throughout most of this cycle, it's not a lot, the overwhelming majority of my gains came from medium time frame, high time frame, kind of positional trading is what I would call it.
Mm-hmm.
Taking either spot positions or low levered positions on high time frame trends or medium time frame trends and riding those. That's where the overwhelming majority of my gains came from, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that has shifted nowadays to intraday trading Bitcoin. Like I mentioned, I used to be specifically an altcoin trader, and now I'm a Bitcoin trader. It's
Yeah.
very 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 different. Um, I actually kind of forgot the core part of your question. Like, is there anything else I do? Was on chain and
Yeah, if
stuff?
you're like playing around with any other current on-chain stuff, I don't know what's currently popular, like
I
pump fund
think
streams, hyper EVM.
yeah. So I think one of the main things that if I have to put any regrets on this cycle, I think that one of the big ones would be I didn't focus enough on chain. There was an
Hmm.
immense opportunity for so many things on chain, and I willfully ignored it. Right, it was kind of a goal. It's like, I don't care. I'm not going to look at it. And I think that, if I could change one thing this cycle, it would probably be that, because I think I had a little bit of effort left in the tank that I could have used to just paying attention to some of the things. And even if it's not me doing all the effort, I know a lot of smart people on chain. And sometimes they catch these runners and I still fade them, right? But just relying on your network of friends that are proven winners to execute when they give you something, probably something I could have done better. But yeah, I don't diversify too much across the market. The main ways, even to today, like, it hasn't been a big focus in 2025 because I haven't been too bullish on too many things. Like, we haven't had so many great trades in the market this year. I mean, Hyperliquid's fantastic, but a lot of the narratives, I feel like they played out into kind of the inauguration day earlier this year. So that's my focus has really just been on intraday trading Bitcoin, man. I wish I had a better answer for you, but no, there's not too much that I do. But yeah, like Hyperliquid is something I faded because early days when it was popular, I was like, man, I'm doing just fine trading on centralized exchanges. Like, why do I need to go through this effort of doing this, right? And I didn't realize how much opportunity there was there, right? Had I just done the exact same thing I was doing elsewhere on Hyperliquid, I think we all know how much money we left on the table, or I left on the table by not participating. But yeah, I mean, more power to the people that were focused on that. But you don't cry over spilled milk.
That's true. Yeah, I'm kind of similar. I don't. I just keep focusing on perps on centralized exchanges, also on Hyperliquid, but I don't do too much stuff on chain. But as you said, it's nice if you have like people in your circle, or sometimes you see something, then like I've learned that it's maybe like better not to just completely ignore it, and at least like take some look at it, like pay some attention to it. Maybe it's something that could be worthwhile, or that could be like a bigger thing in the future. And I feel like for a long time I've been a bit too bearish on most things, just like being like, yeah, this is not sustainable anyway. I don't want to care about this. I don't need to care about this. But sometimes it can still be worth to do that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, one thing you mentioned earlier was there's immense opportunity in crypto, right? Or in trades and markets, right? There's so much opportunity. It's like, why worry about the thing that you missed? Because you're going to have another chance at this in the future. If that's something you're really scoping out, we'll lock into that. You're going to have to sacrifice one thing or the other, because I don't think any of us can do everything. But if your goal is, hey, I'm going to catch the next on-chain runner, well, good luck. Like, go lock in. Go work on it, right? You're not going to probably get the first one, but you'll learn something in that process, and you'll probably catch one eventually.
Regarding you mostly trading Bitcoin nowadays, is it like a size thing or mostly a focus thing as well?
It is. See, the reason I switched this actually was the work-life balance argument. Someone that's trading, 4-hour charts, that was my bread and butter, 1-hour execution, 4-hour charts. Yeah. Your average time in trade is multi-day, right? Sometimes, 2 days to 4 days to 5 days. I'm just, holding these trades for a very long time. There's only 6 4-hour candles in a day. And the old meta, I know nowadays, it's very popular. Everyone kind of understands New York session open is pretty bearish, right? But there was a time in this market where it was Asia that was pretty bearish. And being someone that's focused on the long side of the market, a lot of my entries were coming during those midnight hours, right? Living in California, a 12-hour difference between, the time sessions. I was getting entries at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? And if I just let limit orders, I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'm thinking about it. And that's good. Everyone needs to grind for a certain period of time, but you can't live your entire life like that, So that led me to being like, how do I become a healthier human being, and lower these time frames? So it came kind of out of necessity. I wouldn't say it's a pure sizing thing, but another background thing for me was I'm trying to think always 6 months in advance, 1 year advance, 2 years in advance, right? And this bull market has been, a lot of people hate it. I think it's been unbelievable. I think it's been just so much opportunity, so many clear trades, so many clear narratives and trends, and fantastic. And the goals I set out for myself, I actually hit last year, right? So for me now, I kind of didn't have too much conviction in many coins coming into 2025. Yeah. And I said, well, let's say it's not guaranteed. Let's say we're not going higher. Let's say we enter a bear market. Let's say we enter another 8-month range, 10-month range, whatever it may be.
Hmm.
Where am I going to get the money from? Where's the income coming in? Where am I
Hmm.
extracting value? And I said, well, one of the things I put on the back burner a little bit in favor of positional trading in 2024 is intraday trading or intra-week trading or just active trading. And I said, let me
Hmm.
start pushing some size on these trades. Let me see how much I can. And that was kind of a big goal for me this year is continue sizing up, use some of that new capital. Don't be so hesitant. Don't risk, 0.1% of the account every trade. Try having
Yeah.
the courage to see how much value you can extract as a trader. Because if you're thinking about this career over the course of decades, these bangers are going to come every once in a while, but they're not going to be every
Hmm.
day.
Hmm.
So you have a decision to make for yourself. Either I'm going to be patient and wait and do nothing for months at a time and wait for these big narrative rotations to come along, or I am going to be someone that is comfortable extracting value from a day in and day out basis. And I felt like I was a little lacking in the latter regard, so that was my
Hmm.
focus coming into this year.
I think it's quite interesting that it's like that way around for you, because I feel like many other people or many other traders go from like intraday focus more to a positional longer term focus
Yeah.
where they don't have to like pay that much attention time wise to the market, I guess.
I think so too, but maybe I did things backwards because I felt like I nailed that, right? I nailed that.
Hmm.
I amplified my capital more than I could have imagined. Thank God for all of the opportunities that have come along.
Hmm.
Um, so I know that I have that in the bag, right? If I want to switch back to being a positional spot trader, I know that I could. I have confidence in myself that I could do that. And I
Yeah.
was looking at myself as a full package, right? Where are the weaknesses? And like I said, like last year, I spent a bunch of time in that summer chop focusing on this one thing. And then this year, I said, well, that's kind of starting to turn into this well-oiled machine. Let's see how far we can take this. So it's
Hmm.
it's not only challenging, it's exciting. It's fun for me, right? To keep pushing something that I once wasn't good at. Now I'm getting good at. Now I'm getting better at. And people are
Hmm.
seeing, like these executions that I'm hitting. How hard can I push this, right? And that's really what's been fun for me at this moment. And it's given me confidence because it's like whatever happens. Let's say crypto goes to zero. Let's say
Yeah.
we have no narratives. Let's say we have stagflation like the 70s or whatever it was, and
Hmm.
and markets do nothing for 10 years. Well, guess what? I can still extract value from this market. I can sleep
Yeah.
well at night knowing that I have this skill set that I can rely on. How many other people can say that, right?
Hmm.
So everything that I'm thinking about in markets always comes from like one step ahead. Where are my weaknesses? What
Yeah.
could prevent me, right? And building and growing a family as a trader, your next check is not guaranteed. Like I said, like
Hmm.
as a trader, it's eat what you kill. So you got to make sure that you're always able to extract value from markets no matter what.
I think that's a very good and mature way to view it. Definitely one of the better answers I've heard to that question. Has your life like changed a lot? Like, have you achieved more of this work-life balance as you've
Yes.
been along the journey now?
Yes, yes, yes. So there was a time. Do you know those like Whoop bands that like sleep
Yeah.
tracking? Yeah, yeah. So I had one of those, and in 2023 Q4, I think you'll probably remember how crazy that quarter was specifically. Q4
Hmm. Hmm.
2023. I was getting, according to the Whoop band, maybe an hour of sleep at night, and then like 3 hours of disturbed sleep, and then 1 hour of sleep in the day.
Oh
It
wow.
was it was tragically bad. And and
Yeah.
and and I couldn't sleep because I had anxiety and all these like
Yeah.
adrenaline and
Oh yeah.
palpitations. And I would drink alcohol because that would calm me down a little bit and help me
Yeah.
fall asleep. And it's just so unhealthy for a long period of time. It's like I said, I can't live like this. So yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, in 2025, end of 2024, I cashed out a lot of my positions in December and going into January, and built that capital, moved across the country, got a house, and
Hmm.
the work life balance is a lot better. I enjoy my weekends again. I don't feel stressed to look at charts on the weekend. I just like ignore it completely, unless there's something like the World War III FUD that happened on a Sunday,
Yeah.
right? Or the tariff weekend, and like those
Yeah.
are special moments where you can lock it on weekends. But like
Hmm.
I feel like I have my life back for the first time in a long time.
Yeah. That sounds very good. I'm glad to hear that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you do with the money that you cash out? If you can say something about that, like, do you put it in the stock market or gold, or just like leave it in cash, or what's your strategy there?
So this year I think I've underperformed in that regard. There's just a lot of cash kind of just sitting in the bank
Hmm.
without really a plan yet at this moment. I haven't invested in equities. I don't have like a high interest savings account or anything like that. I don't really have a core plan for what I want to do. One thing I do know is I want more Bitcoin, but I don't really want to
Hmm.
start stacking Bitcoin right now.
Yeah.
I think there will be opportunities for me to deploy that capital back into Bitcoin. I do have a long term cold storage Bitcoin account that's not for like trading. And early on, I would put more cash into there, right? The 20Ks, the
Hmm.
30Ks, right? I'd put it in there. I haven't done that in a long time, and I think like I'm very underweight spot Bitcoin at this point.
Hmm.
So that's one place I'd like to put it. Just because crypto, that's what do I know better than this? I don't know anything better than this. I have core conviction in Bitcoin. But yeah, man, I haven't done anything fantastic with it other than getting a house. I do want to get a better house next year, so that's probably where
Hmm.
some of the cash is going to go.
But that sounds very smart, actually. Just having the core needs met, like having housing and having a bunch of cash. That must feel very secure for sure.
Yeah, I can say I sleep better at night for sure.
What do
Yeah,
you think?
I
Since you said at the beginning about that you don't really believe in cycles anymore, what is like a current outlook for the future of crypto? What do you think about how we will go the next couple of years during Trump's presidency or even like beyond that? Do you have any views on
so
that?
yeah, man. So the way that I've traded this cycle is the market has presented a meta to us, and that meta is a narrative fueled rally where Bitcoin leads and risk follows. A brief
Hmm.
moment of risk on across the market that is narrative fueled, and then a reset on everything. We've had multiple of these this cycle. I think like four distinct ones that were narrative fueled, Bitcoin led, altcoin rotations, risk on rotations. We go all the way to the end of the risk curve, and we kind of reset everything. And I think that's the best way to trade crypto, either from a positional standpoint, spot standpoint, or whatever, and not rely on the 4-year cycle theory. Because had I
Hmm.
just relied blindly on the 4-year cycle, all those gains on Pepe, going from whatever it was January into April, it's like 85% down, right? Just round tripping
Yeah.
all of those gains.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking, hey, man, the 4-year cycle doesn't end until Q4, right? That's just not a good reference, in my
Yeah.
opinion, to navigate the market anymore. So will we magically top in Q4 or Q1 and go into a 1-year bear market? Maybe, but I don't think that's the best kind of way to structure yourself in crypto
Hmm.
anymore. And if it plays out, it plays out. Who cares? But yeah, it's not something that's like something that I'm relying on at any point.
Hmm.
Like I said, I don't know if we said in the podcast or before the podcast, but coming into crypto, that was really what I thought, right? I was like, oh,
Yeah.
2022 is the bear market, 2023 is
Hmm.
the echo bubble, 2024 is the start of the bull market. Like that's how I thought about it back then. But throughout the
Yeah.
course of this cycle, I've abandoned that completely. And if we do just a little bit of kind of just fun napkin speculation, I think it's more difficult for people if we have continued cycle. I think a lot of people are
Hmm.
looking for that. Hey, give us a 70% reset. We messed up this cycle. Give us a reset where we can structure our
Yeah.
portfolio a lot better and get
Yeah.
these free multiples on Bitcoin and get these distressed assets and amplify our capital again.
Yeah.
I think think about people that are not like me, but think about people that have been in this market since 2013, 2017. They've gotten these
Hmm.
cycles multiple times. They've amplified their net worth by multiple times. How
Hmm.
many times is crypto going to grant them the opportunity for free 2x, 4x on their
Yeah.
money through Bitcoin?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to last forever, right? And I think a painful way to continue this cycle is maybe we get 40%, 50% on Bitcoin and altcoins continue to get wrecked. And then we get another altcoin cycle, another Bitcoin markup. I
Hmm.
think that's going to be much harder for people. Even like I mentioned to you, I want to buy Bitcoin, but if Bitcoin puts
Yeah.
me in positions where it's not giving me these grandiose entries on spot, it's going to be difficult to deploy that capital. So it's
Hmm.
almost going to be harder, I think, for people if we have a continued sort of super cycle in a way where we don't get this grandiose alt season of everyone makes $1 million in a week.
Hmm.
And we just get these structural risk on, risk off, risk on, risk off, kind of like TradFi, based
Yeah.
on narratives in the markets. I think that would be harder for people to be successful in.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I kind of agree with the cycle thing. I guess this could be my third cycle. I've been around since 2017, and I think the cycles before like made a lot of sense. But as you said, like many people now are just waiting for this alt season that is going to come, where you can like offload all of your bags that have gone to zero at like some decent multiple again when some other bigger retards like buy them from you. And also like then that you have the opportunity again afterwards to buy everything at an 80% discount. What I feel like the cycles and the halving may still have like some impact, but I feel like it's so TradFi correlated now with the ETFs and all of that stuff going on that like macro environment actually has a lot more to do with the performance of at least Bitcoin. Maybe not altcoin so much, but at least Bitcoin going forward. Like I think it will be way more like the S&P or something, where it's just like going up forever. And then as we saw this year, basically, like it went down in April with like regarding tariffs and everything, and then it recovered a bit faster. It still like has the beta value, but I don't think it will just randomly go down 80%
Yeah.
again, unless like a very huge world event happens that will also like shake stock markets a lot. But then they will also inject liquidity again, and I don't know. I don't really see
Yeah.
that happening anymore.
There's, you know, if you just look on paper of all the things that are different this cycle versus prior cycles, there's a lot, you know, there's a
Yeah.
lot of characteristics that have changed. And I think I have a little list here. Like, first time we ever dropped below all-time high, right? In the bear market, we dropped below 20K. People are shocked, right? We lost the
Hmm.
200 week, which people used to think was like this God trend that's going to hold forever.
Yeah.
We hit all-time high pre-halving. We never did that before. This is the
Hmm.
longest sustained uptrend Bitcoin's ever had, 1,000 days versus 800 days in 2017.
Hmm.
First cycle under high rates. You know, each cycle prior was like an easing
Yeah, true.
cycle, right? First cycle with sustained flows, price agnostic buying from ETF buyers. We never had that before. We never had sustained
Hmm.
flows. First cycle with very strong TradFi asset correlations. I think the most shocking thing that people should point to is look at the tariff FUD.
Yeah.
Bitcoin high to low dropped 30%. The stock market dropped 22%. If
Hmm.
you told someone from prior cycles that, hey, ES is going to drop 22% over the course of
Yeah.
a few weeks and Bitcoin only dropped 30%, they would tell you you're lying.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So
really
we have
kind
to
of
kind of
crazy.
put some of these things into place. You know, I could keep going on. There's so many new things, right? We have involvement with the SEC and IRS that are very tightly correlated with crypto now. They're paying
Hmm.
attention to everything we do. Tame leverage, right? We haven't had the altcoin liquidations we used to have. We don't have
Yeah.
funding rates going crazy like we used to have. Those edges are kind of eroding, and the market is maturing into a different beast entirely. So,
Yeah.
you know, will we get one of those 80% bear markets? Who knows? I don't know, man. I don't see it, but maybe that's just the bull market in me talking, you know,
Yeah.
maybe everyone says that it's at every top.
I mean, maybe all the treasury companies will blow up, or Sailor will get liquidated at some point, and we
Yeah.
have like the I don't know, like who knows what will happen. We don't really know,
Yeah.
especially with the macro environment and all the debt situation going on. I
Yeah.
feel like it's very very hard to predict the next couple of years, because like the fiat currencies are obviously going to keep being devalued, but like
Yeah.
the way that will really play out and what that means is I mean, crypto has never been in an environment where it was like that strongly happening with all
Yeah.
the institutional support and everything that happened. So it's quite hard to predict. I think it makes a lot more sense to just like keep going
Yeah.
as we are, and just
And look,
like
look how much liquidity we have in the market nowadays on
yeah.
Bitcoin compared to before, right? It's ridiculous. How much did that guy sell over this past month? I don't know how much
Yeah.
Bitcoin he sold. And I remember this one weekend when they were distributing through Galaxy, it was, I think, over 10,000 Bitcoin over the course of
Hmm.
3 hours, and price moved down 3%.
Hmm.
You know, it's like unfathomable, these mechanics that have shifted across the market. So
Yeah.
it's like you said, I think something like drastic needs to happen, like these treasury companies blowing up or Sailor blowing up, in order for us to get that,
Yeah.
or a big stock market, annihilation or bear market.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess we have to find out. How do you like? My last question is: how do you see your own future in markets, in trading? Do you still see yourself trading in 5 years, in 10 years? Do you ever want to like retire, do something else? What
I
are your plans?
I think I will be here as long as I am inspired and happy, and markets bring me joy. I think the minute this starts feeling like a job and not like fun and exciting, and for something for me to chase, where I can set my own goals and be excited in the morning to be like, oh yeah, New York session's opening in a few hours. I need to be prepared.
Hmm.
When it starts feeling like a chore and a job and no longer like fun, I think I will start branching out into different things, into something that brings me joy. I've been fortunate because I think markets are the first time in my life I got to experience doing something for a living that brings me happiness.
Hmm.
When I played tennis, I was lucky enough to be pretty talented at a young age, and I didn't, I played for fun, but eventually it became stressful and pressure. And when you win, you're expected to win, and when you lose,
Hmm.
it's this, depressing feeling in the household and coaches and everything like that. So
Yeah.
it stopped becoming fun. It started becoming like a job, and medicine I always treated like a job. I didn't, I was excited to learn physiology in year one, and all these things and all these mechanics, and how mind-blowing the body is, and the interactions that we have with the world.
Hmm.
But then it started feeling like a job too, right? When you start doing internship and rounds, and you see all these doctors that are burnt out and kind of hate their lives, and they see the same 12 patients because they specialize, and each patient comes in feeling like a snowflake. And
Yeah.
they're like, doc, this is so, unique and interesting. How does that doctor put on the same smile on every patient? He's seeing 14,
Hmm.
15 patients a day, every
Hmm.
day for 30 years. I think if the market ever starts feeling like that to me, that'll be my moment to say it's time to pursue something new, and
Yeah.
thank the markets for all the opportunity it's given me. And that's probably when I transitioned to being the quote unquote asset allocator or investor, right?
Yeah. I think that's really the good thing about markets, that they're so dynamic and ever changing, and that makes it very difficult to ever come to that point. Like maybe it will still happen, but because there is so much change going on, and you also have to adapt yourself. I can't really see for myself. I haven't traded for actively for that long, but I think I'm going to keep going for a lot longer, because I can also relate to the excitement and all of that
Yeah.
stuff you talked about.
Yeah, I mean, nothing beats a bull market, right? Nothing
Yeah.
beats those few moments a year where things are going up only, and you could size into stuff with conviction. We've
Hmm.
got great flows and narratives, right? Nothing compares to those few moments a year. It makes all those menial 3% ranges on Bitcoin worth it, right?
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else that you want to say at the end? Anything that you want to shout out or something like that?
Uh, Man, no, I think you asked a lot of fantastic questions already today, man.
Thank
I
you.
think we covered a lot of great topics, and I had a lot of fun speaking with you.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. Thank you
Yeah,
very much for coming on.
yeah,
And
100%. Let me know
yeah,
next time if you ever want me back on. I'd be happy
for
to
sure.
join. 100%,
Sounds good to me. Yeah,
yeah,
thank you very much.
100%, man.